Oh, Doctor Who. It too has fallen victim to social justice, progressivism, and feminist politics. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Buckle up. We're going to go full stunning and brave, folks. Time Lord style. Thanks to the good old BBC. Doctor Who has been woke for a while now. As I've pointed out in a previous video, it's been laced with feminist garbage and progressive gender ideology. This was significantly ramped up during the Peter Capaldi era. Just a quick recap for you.
Go, now. Go find Vikings on other planets. The universe is full of testosterone. Trust me, it's unbearable. We won't follow you.
The universe is full of testosterone. Trust me, it's unbearable. Now again, you might look at this in isolation and think, hey, it's just playful banter. Pretty mild and innocuous. Except, you will never hear a character say, the universe is full of estrogen. Trust me, it's unbearable.
Back to normal, am I? The only time I've been a man, that last body. Dear Lord, how do you cope with all that ego?
Back to normal, am I? I.e., meaning that being male isn't normal, apparently. Only time I've ever been a man, that last body. Dear Lord, how do you cope with all that ego? Again, I wouldn't have a problem if male characters could pass similar remarks about female ones, but they can't.
What's that face? Are you thinking? Stop it, you're a man, it looks weird.
Do as she says. Is the future gonna be all girl?
We can only hope.
Now, much of the insults and barbs directed towards men and masculinity on the show I wouldn't have an issue with if it weren't for the fact that it's all one-way traffic. A male character could never make similar remarks directed towards femininity or a female character because there would be outrage if that happened. So where's the equality there? The previous companion, Bill Potts, had to continuously tell the audience how she's a lesbian over and over because that's PC.
Oh, my dear, I hope it doesn't offend you to know that I have had some experience of the fairer sex.
Me too.
Good Lord.
And as you might expect when cultural Marxism is being pushed in the show's writing, the show also has to take a dig at capitalism.
The end point of capitalism. The bottom line, where human life has no value at all.
In the Christmas special Twice Upon a Time, the first Doctor is brought back, and the writers try to make him out to be a sexist, misogynistic dinosaur over and over.
Well, he clearly misses you. That ship of his is in dire need of a good spring clean.
No, stop. Look. Oh, look at the astral map here. Look at all the lovely blinking lights.
It's incredibly disrespectful to the original William Hartnell portrayal, and indeed to the legacy of the franchise.
Well, aren't all ladies made of glass? In a way.
Very good, sir, very good.
Are we now?
Absolute vandalization of a beloved TV icon. Don't get me wrong, I love David Bradley in this role. He's amazing as the First Doctor. He nails the performance in a way that's authentic and reminiscent of Hartnell's version, but unfortunately his character is being used in this political way, and that's just awful.
In fact, this whole place could do with a good dusting. Obviously, Polly isn't around anymore.
Please, stop saying things like that.
And as you can see in his reaction to all of this, the 12th Doctor has become a pathetic wimp, such a beta. He's terrified of the dangerous 1960s gender stereotypes of a housewife, of a woman cleaning a house. Shh! Don't let a 21st century woman hear you say something like that. They'll be deeply offended. I mean, how could such strong career women possibly cope with the 1960s version of Doctor Who being so inadvertently non-PC? They're actually implying that women are too brittle to hear this original Doctor speak in this way about women cleaning the TARDIS. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. It's the soft bigotry of low expectations. This legendary Time Lord is now so incredibly castrated. There's no women around, and he's still speech policing himself. He's immensely fearful of saying the wrong thing and being perceived as being not politically correct. He's faced the Daleks, he's faced the Cybermen, but his greatest adversary? His own unconscious biases. It's almost like there's some kind of agenda being pushed in the writing of Doctor Who to try to virtue signal to a feminist audience about how we've truly moved forward as a society. The future is female, after all. That's why the BBC has diversity hiring policies and pushes gender confusion on school kids. This BBC Two show seems all about the social engineering. No more boys and girls. Can our kids go gender free? If that kind of brainwashing doesn't send a chill down your spine, I don't know what will. So with the BBC pumping out this kind of crap targeting kids, is it any wonder that you have conversations like this in Doctor Who?
I think she was a man back then. I'm fairly sure that I was too. It was a long time ago.
So, look, Time Lord's a bit flexible on the whole like man-woman thing then, yeah?
We're the most civilized civilization in the universe. We're billions of years beyond your petty human obsession with gender and its associated stereotypes.
So when it was announced that the 13th Doctor was going to be portrayed as a woman, I thought, well, this is it. This is the moment when Doctor Who hits the self-destruct button for good. And at the time, before I left Twitter, I got a lot of grief from hardline left-leaning Doctor Who fans. So I decided to just sit back, give it time, and let them vent. Let them scream about how it's about time we had a female doctor, how anyone who's against this move is a sexist, bigoted, out-of-touch monster. The trouble is, it's going to be a disaster. Injecting divisive identity politics and diversity and feminism into entertainment like this has divided fan bases and driven audiences away from other franchises. This has been proven with everything from Ghostbusters, Star Trek Discovery, Star Wars, Marvel Comics, Ocean's 8, and video games like Battlefield 5. If you want to maintain ratings and viewership, it's kind of simple. Don't alienate the audience that you have relied on to build your franchise over the years. Get woke, go broke. And it's clear that Doctor Who hasn't just got woke, it's taken one of the most powerful soy-infused shots of progressive espresso on the planet. Now, before anyone replies with the obvious, superficial reading of this casting choice of making it a female doctor, which is to say, Dave, it's been proven that Time Lords can change their sex to female. What's the problem? That's irrelevant, my friend. Changing the Doctor to a woman is not being done to serve as some kind of tip of the hat to established canon or to develop the character further. It's being done for political reasons because you have to put this move in the context of the feminist messaging that the series has been pushing for the past few years, and with respect to just how PC the BBC has become. In a recent commercial for the new series starring Jodie Whittaker as the first female Doctor, there is literally a glass ceiling above her head, and then it smashes and the glass shards fall to the ground and she says, "Oops," and then it says, "It's about time." Talk about the subtlety of a brick, ladies and gentlemen. Unsurprisingly, people don't seem to like this very much. This has over 600 dislikes, so it isn't popular. But it gets so much worse. The series now has a new head writer called Chris Chibnall, and he plans to make the show more educational. Oh dear. Doctor Who to revisit US civil rights movement as new boss attempts to educate and entertain. New Doctor Who boss Chris Chibnall is keen to bring the show back to its 1960s roots when Sidney Newman intended it to be an educational series for children. Oh, I just can't wait for this stunning and brave new series to obsess about how racist white people were in the past over and over. And of course, there will probably be the requisite episode dedicated to sexism where this new female doctor will face some situation of sexual discrimination of her own. Because white people never face racial discrimination and men never face sexism, right? Except, of course, if you're applying for a job, ironically enough, at the BBC, in which case they have hiring policies that actually discriminate against white people and especially white men. But I won't hold my breath waiting for an episode of Doctor Who to ever tackle racism and sexism against white men. By the way, here's some more context regarding the culture at the BBC right now from a recent episode of my other show, How Is This a Thing? Era of TV with white men imparting knowledge is over. The era of TV shows in which white males impart information on a subject is dead, a top BBC executive has said, stating the corporation must find different ways of bringing expert insight and knowledge to audiences in the future. I guess that means the likes of Brian Cox and David Attenborough will have to look for new jobs. Diversity has always been a code word for less white people and, in particular, less white men. But we swear it's not racist and sexist or anything. BBC4 editor Casey and Harrison, an upper-middle-class white male, told the Edinburgh Television Festival that people are no longer interested in static television programs featuring a white male presenter talking about a topic. Anyway, back to the Doctor Who article. With that in mind, he has embarked on a mission for the Doctor's new friends Ryan and Yasmin to be transported back in time to witness historical events that are particularly relevant to their own ethnic backgrounds. Oh, this sounds like so much fun. The teens, played by former Hollyoaks stars Tosin Cole and Madeep Gill, have already filmed with Dr. Jodie Whittaker in Cape Town, South Africa, which doubled as 1950s America. Whoa, hold on a second. While you're down there in South Africa, maybe you could do an episode dedicated to current racism and discrimination against white people that's actually going on there, where people are being slaughtered and losing their property. But of course, that doesn't count as racism because it's directed at white people, right? Right, so then, apparently, she meets American civil rights activist Rosa Parks, who in 1955 famously refused to give up her seat on the bus for a white passenger, sparking the beginning of the end for segregation. Sounds amazing that they're focusing on politics rather than science fiction on a science fiction series. Sounds incredibly entertaining. The production is now heading off to India, where the gang will find out more about the country's past and perhaps Yasmin's own family heritage. Awesome! Also, can we have an episode about how in the past Britain wasn't diverse enough and was therefore kind of racist? Anyway, quality of writing is irrelevant now, it seems. Whether the stories are entertaining and innovative doesn't matter. What matters is that the show has the correct political messaging inserted into it. That way, the woke mainstream media will give it nothing but glowing reviews, while the audience ratings will of course be in the toilet. But that doesn't matter because, after all, Doctor Who relies on the TV license fee, so it can afford to be god-awful, and the British taxpayer will continue to fund it. I should point out, the educational aspect of Doctor Who in the 1960s that they refer to in this article didn't last long. It wasn't what made the show successful. Of course, I would expect nothing less from a broadcaster that is now pushing anti-capitalist messaging into its content. Ratings, eyeballs, profits, and other metrics by which a show will be judged as successful doesn't matter when you're literally hiring writers and directors not based on talent, but because they're women. Screw meritocracy. And by the way, when this fails, and yes, it will fail because they've already reduced the episode count down to 10, that's how little faith they actually have in this. When it fails, watch out for the complaints about how it was sexist white men, insecure about their toxic masculinity or something, who stopped watching it, right? The audience will be to blame. Yeah, they won't look at themselves. They won't question their creative decisions and the ideology they pushed. They'll blame the fans who couldn't take any more of their feminist propaganda. Apparently, it'll be our fault for tuning out. We're apparently the ones who made this political, not their constant browbeating of men and progressive indoctrination of the youth. Oh, the progressive media will no doubt produce articles shaming the toxic white male audience for not being woke enough for watching this new season of Doctor Who. In truth, there's a lot of female fans also who are fed up of this, and they won't be watching either. But I guess us unwoke plebs are just not progressive enough to understand how stunning and brave, timely and necessary this new season of Doctor Who is going to be. I can't wait.